What's up, everyone? NanMan here, and we've got a new video. A little bit different because you're used to seeing some modern on the channel, but we're going to be doing some Commander with Modern Horizons 2 Commanders. So I got three awesome guests with me, and we're going to be going around and introduce who they are and what they're doing. The audio of this got a little bit messed up, so I was able to pull some of it and ask some of my new friends to be able to send me some audio files. So it's going to be a little bit different. Instead of our normal Commander stuff that we're hoping to do where everyone's talking and it's a normal game, it's going to be a little bit off where I'm doing most of the talking for it and kind of commentating over, very similar to the old modern gameplay videos that you guys saw on the channel. But if you're wondering, I'm going to be playing Garth One Eye for the game today. So I'm going to be trying to cast some Black Lotus, cast some Shivan Dragons, and kind of do a lot of tapping, untapping strategies. But let's kind of go around and see what everybody else is playing.
Hey everybody, it's Doni, aka Cardboard Pimpin' on Instagram, or you can also find me on Twitter, Doni_Filthy MTG Casuals. Today I'm playing Grist. Basically, it's just insect tribal, using some self-mill and some recursion, and just trying to do the thing. Wish me luck.
Hi everyone, my name is Jen. I am the better half of the Filthy MTG Casuals. You can also find me under MTG Card Crazy on Instagram and Filthy MTG Casual on Twitter. Today I will be playing Sythis, new and improved Enchantress decks, because now we have card draw and life gain in the command zone. So my deck just wants to play enchantments, get value, gain life, and take over.
Hey everyone, my name is Andy Flory. I am one half of the Guardian Project podcast. We are a weekly podcast that talks about all things Magic the Gathering, but mostly Commander. We release new episodes every week, and you can find those on our website at guardianprojectpodcast.com or anywhere where podcasts are found. You can find us on Twitter at GuardianPod, and we occasionally stream Paper Commander at twitch.tv/atflory, and then all of our videos are posted to our YouTube website, youtube.com/theguardianproject. And for this game, I'm going to be playing Lonis, Cryptozoologist. Lonis is a 1/2 Snake Elf Scout for a green and a blue that says whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you investigate, and you can tap it and sack X clues to have target opponent reveal the top X cards of their library. You may put a non-land permanent with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield under your control, and then that player puts the rest of those cards on the bottom of their library in a random order. The goal of this deck is to make enough clues so that I can play your decks, but if all else fails, I can turn all of my clues into creatures and swing for the win.
All right, so we've already rolled to see who goes first, and it looks like Andy was our winner to start the match off. So again, things are going to be a little bit different with this content compared to normal, because I'm going to be basically commentating over everything because there was an issue with the audio portion of our stuff. So already we're going to just kind of, first couple turns are usually kind of that build up. A lot of times people are hoping they get a turn one Soul Ring, but not the case. So Andy and I both are going to start things out with a nice tap land, and we were having a nice conversation at the beginning with Jen and stuff about how she hates playing tap lands and stuff like that. But Donnie already going to be helping everybody out and making sure everybody gets access to some swamps with his Urborg play on turn one, which is pretty nice. And that's even better. Oh, gosh. So we're going to be seeing one of the kind of all-stars of Modern, right? As you're seeing different Modern play, but Urza's Saga. It's so good in this instance as well because you get to basically tutor up and find your Soul Ring. And we're seeing, of course, Andy already starting up with his ramping. He's going to be getting his Simic Signet, and that's a lot of this initial build-up stage in Commander. If you guys have never played or haven't watched it recently, it's going to be a little bit of kind of this, let's build, let's kind of develop our boards. So now I'm starting to get access to as many colors as possible. So Hinterland Harbor, so now I have access to red, green, and blue. I am playing a 5-color list, so that makes it a little bit harder compared to some of the other people. Everyone else is running 2 colors, so I have a lot more ramping, and that's really nice out of Doni. So he's going to be able to sacrifice a creature and get more mana out of it. So he's just sort of building up. His kind of deck relies on making insects, being able to synergize with his graveyard. So we're going to see how things kind of progress. But already we're going to be enchantments coming out from Jen, as she's going to be popping up here and going to be hopping up and increasing her ramp. And apparently I was clicking on a planes because it didn't understand what I was doing. You know, that's the one nice thing about this, is that you have that card reader that you can be able to click on things, but immediately we're seeing Andy ramp up here, and now his cryptozoologist is out. So one of the benefits of this card is whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, then you get to investigate. You can be able to sacrifice a bunch of clues and be able to mess with your opponent's libraries in that regard. But it's all about kind of making a bunch of artifacts and then kind of profiting from there. Now, all right, so now I'm going to be playing a weird card, a way to kind of make friends with the table, essentially. So it's my Root Weaver here. So this basically lets players search for lands, and everybody that searches for ones will let me get some. So basically, everybody can be able to find 3 lands, except for me. When they find their 3 lands, they give me one of those lands, and they keep 2. So everybody gets 2. I essentially get 3 if everyone does this. So it's a way to kind of show that, oh, I'm not really messing with people, but it's also a way to, help the table. Let's speed up our game a little bit, kind of thing. And we're going to go through here. So you see everyone's starting to get stuff, and everyone's playing green. You can see everyone's like, all right, I'm going to get some forest. I'm not going to give you extra mana. I'm paying attention to what exactly your lands are. Do you have access to white yet? Cool, I'm not giving you white. I'm not going to find a plains for you. You can have a forest, kind of thing. So now we're kind of going through all the steps and making sure that everybody's able to start getting the lands that they need. So now we super speed up the turn, right? Now I have access to 6 mana on my following turn. Still don't have access to white. All right, so Doni's going to be playing Door of Destiny and, of course, naming insects, which with him running so many insects, it makes sense that he can just start kind of building up, right? So whenever an insect in this regard comes into play, he's going to put a +1 counter on it. And so all of his insects are going to get +1/+1 for each counter on Door of Destinies. So pretty good. Again, these first couple turns are building. You see how much mana we got because of the ramp that already came out. But Jen had the Soul Ring in her hand, so she could not be able to take advantage of searching for it. And so I was wondering if she was going to be making an artifact creature before it went away. But when you're limited on how you spend your mana, because we're still kind of in that build up phase, you want to try to get out there and start doing stuff. So. And now we're going to see a very annoying creature that's going to enter the battlefield here. So all this ramping is going to be helping out. So here's this 4/4 elemental boar. And when it enters the battlefield, you get to search your library for a basic forest card and put it and basic forest card and a basic plains card. Reveal those and put them into your hand. Also, players can't pay life or sacrifice non-land permanents, cast, or activate abilities. So that shuts down my Black Lotus. I can't sacrifice it to activate it. So it makes it a little weird. Now, that's really good for kind of stopping these clues from being sacrificed and stuff like that when our cryptozoologist of Andy starts to investigate. So we'll see how his turn's going to start ramping up here. And, we're going to be seeing one of our kind of newer commanders that came out recently. if you guys are paying attention to some of the fun stuff for our different wizard school, if you will, with the Strixhaven, of course, what I'm referring to. So we've got a Ward 2 Merfolk Wizard here. It's our twin caster. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many tokens would be created instead. So hey, instead of just getting one clue, now I'm getting 2 clues. And it's the synergy with the commander is just like through the roof. Yeah, so it's just going to get really scary really quickly. And you can kind of see already like the building blocks now of what Andy's trying to do with his deck, right? It's just like all in on this create token strategies. Now this is really bad for us. So Inspiring Sanctuary, non-artifacts spells that you cast have improvised. That means that you can tap your artifacts to count towards 1 colorless mana, essentially. So if you're going to cast something big, all right, if you're going to be casting a Wormcoil Engine, for example, right, it costs 6 colorless mana. You can tap 6 clues and be able to improvise and be able to cast, well, actually, I would lie because non-artifacts, so Wormcoil is a bad example of this. But again, you get to be able to cast a non-artifact spell by helping out with your artifacts. All right. So let's see if we can get access to white mana here. Everybody else is starting to develop their board and get scary. Donnie's not really a threat right now because he's just sort of like building up. I'm in this stage where I'm going to just kind of keep ramping. So I'm going to play Slumbering Isle here. So it's taps for a blue or a green, and I can be able to have the slumber counters. When it no longer has any slumber counters on it, it becomes a 12/12 creature. But now I have Glacial Fortress, so I have access to white for next turn and can start being able to play Garth next turn. I don't have a way to give him haste at the moment, but it's building up. We want to start getting him out there so I can start doing stuff. Alright, so Donnie's tapping 5 mana, and he's again just sort of... This is like tried and true when you are going to be playing a tribal style deck. Is you want these sort of Door of Destinies, you want these Vanquisher banners, you want these kind of build-up cards that are going to be able to kind of help you progress and just make your creatures better. Alright, over on Jen's side... So she's got access to a lot of mana again. And we see 3. There we go. Nexus Warden finally coming out there. I was like, why is my thing messed up? All right. So, Reach, it's a 1/4, and it's got that Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 life. Which, again, it's all about these life gain synergies. We talked about this during the intro of how much synergy exists. So, Sythis is going to come out. It is a legendary creature. It's our commander. It's 1/2. Whenever you cast an enchantment, you draw a card, and you gain a life. So, she'll be gaining 3 life every enchantment and drawing a card. So, it works out really, really well. For her strategy of just sort of this high synergy, high build up, get lots of card advantage. Swinging over to Andy's side of things, his board is looking really scary right now. He's got access to a lot of mana. He's got already kind of his engine started up here where he can just start churning out all those clues. But we're going to see what he actually decides to do with all these clues. So we can see improvising right now, so he's going to be tapping to play Oko. More tokens. Things are getting real now over on the Simic side of things here. I mean, there's a reason Simic is super strong, so Andy's fine with just sort of kind of stepping up at this point, getting things ready. He's like, all right, let's keep this ramp strategy going, and I'm going to be making double the food here. Now he's got 2 clues and 2 food, and again, that can help him cast non-creatures or non-artifact spells. So he's going to tap all 4. So he's got 4 basically generic mana, colorless mana, that he's going to be able to use to help him out. And for 7, now this is like MVP synergy for the deck. This Junk Winder here, it's a 5/6. It's got affinity for artifacts, so it does cost less for the number of artifacts. But whenever a token enters the battlefield under your control, tap target non-land permanent or opponent controls, and that doesn't untap during their untap step. And he's always generating value off of this. So he's going to be able to say, oh, I had a creature into the battlefield. I'm going to create 2 clues. Bum, bum, bum. And that means I get to tap down 2 non-land permanents, and they do not untap. So that means soul rings, that means any mana rocks that exist, that means creatures that exist. Zoom out and see what he's going to start tapping. I mean, my stuff's not really scary right now, so I guess I'm pretty safe in that regard. And plus I helped ramp, so maybe Andy's less inclined to start messing with me. I do think that Jen's board is looking a little scary. So we'll see how things go. So I feel like I'm falling behind compared to everybody else, especially compared to Andy. So I start saying it's time. Let's bring out Garth One Eye here. And I don't have haste yet. Him and Hawing a lot about what my follow-up play is going to be. And so we're going to give him haste. So I put Instill Energy. So it has an activated ability of 0. He's got haste, so I can pay 0 and untap him. But I can only do that at sorcery speed, so only during my turn. So I'm going to start things out and at least cast a Black Lotus, because why would you not do that when you have haste, right? And then I get to be able to untap him and be able to use him again and maybe cast like Terror or something like that, or Regrowth afterward. So I'm feeling pretty good with how at least my first turn started with Garth. Now it's going to be going over to Donnie's turn, and he's got a lot of like stuff ready to go now. Like he's been building up. He's got all these high synergy artifacts on the battlefield. So he's going to start by playing his commander, and we're getting out Grist, the Hungering Tide. What's cool is you're able to play him as your commander, even though he's a planeswalker, because as long as he isn't on the battlefield, he's a 1/1 insect creature in addition to its other types. Then you cast him, and he's like, oh, hey, I'm no longer an insect. So now we're going to see our Bayou Dragonfly. It's a 1/1 flying swamp walk insect, but he played an insect, so that Door of Destiny is going to get bigger. That Vanquisher banner is making him bigger, so he's just going to keep making these strong insects that are going to just fly over, going to swamp walk, going to find ways of having evasion over the team. And because the Urborg is out, everybody has swamps, so this makes it really, really scary. All right, so Donnie's still making some insects. He's doing kind of that +1 self-mill. I'll make some insects and then kind of pass his turn on over to Jen. And Jen's got her, like, engine going as well, right? She's going to be gaining 3 life every enchantment she plays, and she's going to be drawing a card. Now, you see those 2 creatures that she had do not untap because of that Junk Winder that's on Andy's side of the board. So, you know, we did our build-up, and now we're getting to that next stage where people are going to start throwing those haymakers. They're going to start really going to town and making something happen. with a lot of their decks game plans. All right, now this is going to be a really scary turn for Andy with his Lonis, because like he's going to start having all of these different, basically high synergy pieces that are just going to start popping off together. Super easy though. Now he's just like, all right, here's a bird's paradise. Let's just keep kind of ramping so I can take advantage of all of these clues that I'm going to keep generating. Right, he's going to just keep making more and more stuff. So he says, all right, now I got to start tapping things. I'm making more clues. So we're going to tap down the Bayou Dragonfly, tap down my Druid there. And now it's checking the number of cards in everybody's hands, because that means something scary is gonna happen. So he's gonna be tapping or inspiring, right? Using that inspiring vantage to tap 2 of his clues so he can be able to reduce the cost of something essentially, or pay the cost. And 1 blue looks like to windfall everybody. So everyone's going to be discarding their hands and then drawing cards equal to the greatest number. So we'll get a brand new hand. I mean, like, we've been ramping up to this point, and now we're just going to keep the pressure going. What's really scary about him windfalling here is just he still has access to so much mana and ability to kind of get all these payoffs here. So we're going to see how much he can kind of dump on his hand here. All right, so now we're getting into the first real combat coming out here. Junk Grinder is really doing a number on the board and tapping everything down and kind of clearing the path to start swinging in and pushing for damage here. So yeah, now we're going to start coming across and start chipping away at people. I still, like, I have a 5/5. I like, it's a little bit harder to push in towards me, but well, you know, we've been doing some little like chip shots kind of thing at Doni, or at least Andy has this game. So now we're getting into those haymakers that I was talking about. Here's the bigger spells, the bigger creatures that are going to start coming out and swinging across. All right, so looks like end step, I'm gonna have to start destroying things. So we're gonna cast Terror, and so that means we get to destroy a non-artifact, non-black creature. And so I have to decide, right? Jen's got that boar that won't let me sacrifice my permanent, so I cannot mess with my Black Lotus. But Junk Grinder is shutting the whole table down, so it's like I have to go with the Junk Grinder here and hope somebody else can deal with the elemental boar, because this way it opens the board up so everybody can start doing stuff again. Because up to this point it was kind of like Andy being a bully over there with his Junk Grinder. Alright, so now we can go to my turn. My Root Reaver does not untap because of Junk Grinder, but let's see what we can do. So we've already cast Terror, we've already cast Black Lotus, so we've got to do... we can cast other things at this point. Still ramping. Going to be playing Urban Evolution, draw 3 cards, get to be able to play an extra land. So I've already played 1 land, I can play 1 more this turn. So I decided to play Plains. Now we're going to play our first Shivan Dragon. No way to get haste, so passing after that. Alright, so Donnie's going to do his untap step, his bug, and Grist don't get to untap because of Junk Wielder. Even though Junk Wielder's gone, it still does matter that he can't be able to untap it right now. But he's already set things up quite a bit, so now it's like, alright, where is he going to go from here He keeps making bugs, making that door of destiny get bigger. Like, we're in this spot. I mean, it's kind of like Andy's turning into the one to be scared of, right? There's an Oko out. He's got this crazy synergy going. So how is Doni going to be able to kind of respond on his turn? Since we did just get that windfall, so now he's got a bunch of cards in his hand. And let's kind of zoom in a little bit and see what he's got going on. All right. So going into that Golgari side of things, it's under the 1,000 Eyes here. It's a 2/3 with Undergrowth, so he can make a bunch of insects based on the number of creatures in his graveyard, and Plague Stinger, a 1/1 flying infect insect horror. So again, that synergy, you only need to hit somebody a few times because, hey, you've got a bunch of insects, right? So your door is going to get bigger every single time. So you can see this Plague Stinger is going to be hopefully trying to threaten things now. And now the attention kind of shifts immediately. You can see just the energy at the table go from, okay, Andy's got this crazy engine going on. It's really, really scary. But then everyone goes, ooh, threat assessment, infect. Infect scary. It doesn't matter how much life I have. I could lose to just 10 infect damage. All right, I've been poisoned 10 times. Ooh, it's going to be scary. And we can see, Iron Shell Beetle coming out, making things bigger. We're just drawing more cards off that Vanquisher's banner. And it's just like the engine now is really up and running here for Doni for what he's trying to do of just like going for this tribal insect, recursion, mill himself. It's like a nice little system that he's created here. But so he's got Grist, so he can be able to start messing with people. We see the enemy, of course, is going to be Andy in this regard. So I'm going to be swinging in with my Swamp Walk Bayou Dragonfly. All right, now we're going on over to Jen's turn. Again, she's another one that has been building up this sort of engine at this point in time. She's got Sythis out so she can start generating that card advantage through playing enchantments. She's got some artifacts out. She had to have one of her, of course, creatures get swapped. So she's not going to gain as much life because of the whole Oko being annoying in that regard. All right, so she's going to start by paying, looks like, quite a bit of mana to start things out here. And that's the thing, there are some really powerful enchantments that exist that are much higher cost here. And so, all right, so this, again, a really high cost thing, all right? 8 mana, but creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers that you control. That's really bad for my deck that's just trying to make a bunch of Shivan Dragons. The other thing is at the beginning of your end step, create a 5/5 green worm creature token. So now this gets into that synergy that her deck has created that ties in enchantments with tokens. So she's going to start generating every turn, makes a 5/5 worm, which is pretty scary when we're looking around the board. There's not that many 5/5s. And look at this awesome token that Jen was able to bring out. That's sweet. I really like those kind of art style ones. All right, switching on over to Andy's board where it's just like super scary here. He's got War Room, so it looks like he's going to draw some cards. War Room is all-star, and if you're running a 2-color deck, it seems worth it to be able to run it in there. I'm running a 5-color list. I missed that memo when I was like, hey, let's build some Modern Horizons 2 decks, guys, and then we'll come in and play some Commander together. And I was like, I'm going to make a 5-color list, and everybody else was like, you have fun with your 5 colors. We're going to make a nice streamlined 2-color list. And you can see just how streamlined Andy's deck is, all right? It's just like everything synergizes very well together. These pieces build up. And, oh, who wants an ape? All right, so we're going to just say, no, you get a 3/3 ape here. I believe Andy is targeting something on Doni's board here. All right. Get an elf, keeping up with that ramp strategy, but this also generates more of those clues. You see, boom, get clues. Boom, making more, investigating, more clues, more clues. So Lonis is helping again. Anytime that you're casting those non-creatures, you're making clues. So you can see he's up to 10, 11 clues, 2 food. Yeah, Andy's board is really scary. He doesn't have like a huge threat anymore since we got rid of his junk wielder. But he still has Oko. He's still like, his engine is just like, again, popping off here where he's able to just pop out clues and artifacts constantly. So he's going to be looking for a way to generate another threat here. So you see he's improvising again, tapping some of those artifacts that he's not using. And that's the payout right there. That's now the threat. The engine is 100% smooth sailing from this point. So Shimmer Dragon, it's a 5/6 flyer, and then if you control 4 or more artifacts, oh my gosh, there's like 200 artifacts on the field right now, especially for Andy. Look at, he's like, yep, I've got like 18 artifacts here. You have hexproof. The dragon does, the Shimmer Dragon, and then you could tap 2 untap artifacts to draw a card. And so he could just be like, oh, I've got 10 clues. All right, I'll tap 10 of them and draw 5 cards. Seems pretty great. And then what I don't use to draw cards, I can use to help pay for my spells. But he's still messing with Oko, and going to be seeing about making things into elks, seeing about turning things, making more food. So he's at this point here. He did the exchange control last time and was able to take that Nexus creature that Jen had, that whenever you play an enchantment you gain life. So now it's like, all right, clearly there's some threats over here, and you can see there, okay, so the elk got turned into, or the plague stinger got turned into an elk with that sweet elk token that Doni and Jen have. So Shimmer Dragon makes it really hard, right? It's a 5/6 flyer. There's 2 other flyers on the board right now that are just sort of meat shields, but the Shimmer Dragon is kind of the real scary part now. Out of the tools that Andy has, that's like the most powerful one to take advantage of all of those clues that he's been generating this whole time. Going into my turn. Been ramping a lot of turns, building up. So now we're going to see if we can get any payout cards going to kind of keep up with everybody. Everyone else has been dumping some great payout cards their last turn. So let's see. I'm paying 6 mana. Right now, 7 mana. Zendikar Resurgence. Alright, so we're keeping up with this ramp. So whenever I tap a land for mana, I get an extra mana, and then whenever I am going to be casting a creature spell, I get a draw card. So, and now I've got my 12/12 Kraken, no longer slumbering. So now my board is looking scary. Alright, so now my board is looking a little scarier, so making it less likely for people to want to run towards me. So I have 8 mana. So I'm thinking it's like I could dump my mana and draw a bunch of cards and like Brain Geyser or something. I still can't sacrifice... Oh, I can sacrifice my Black Lotus now. Because Andy answered that boar by turning it into an ape. So I'm going to cast Regrowth. Okay, so I'm going to get my Feldar Guardian so I can be able to start recasting my Garth stuff here. So Feldar comes back from my graveyard. It was in my hand that got windfalled. And so I still have mana so I can be able to blink it. Now, I'm now sitting here deciding, okay, Do I crack my Black Lotus to basically use as much resources as I can? Or do I keep it? And so I decide to keep it and just flicker Garth. So I'm flickering him, and still energy is going to die, so he no longer has haste. But I get to recast everything. I can recast Black Lotus, Shivan Dragon, Terror. Oh, and there's my cat. I forgot that he came over to say hi to us. So that's Atticus. For those you, if you guys have watched, he's sometime in the background of videos. But yeah. So I cast a creature, so I get to draw a card. And now I'm going to try to deal with Oko because I'm scared of Oko. And again, it's like focused on Andy because threat assessment, his machine is just too scary. So I'm coming at him, but he's going to throw some of his creatures in the way, some of his flyers to just get out of the way. And that's kind of it for my turn. Thanks, Addy, for knocking over my stuff. The fluffiest of all tails. Alright, so now we're switching over to Doni and see what he can make happen on his turn. I think it's like Doni and I are kind of in agreement that we need to commit our resources towards Andy right now. Jen's been still building up at this point. Andy's been messing with her. I'm not so worried. Like, I can't really do anything to Jen either because she's got the enchantment that shuts down my flyers, and that's kind of where I'm at. I guess I could have attacked with my 12-12, but I wanted some blockers. I'm still at 40, so I guess maybe I should have been a little more aggressive with it, but that's okay. I still am very nervous about how I'm going to approach these different combats because you have to think about there's 3 different people. How are you going to manage that? So over on Donnie's side, it's the swarm stage here. He's got a lot of insects. He was going to start infecting people, but that got shut down by Oko turning it into an elk. And so now he's kind of in this, all right, where do I take my hand from here? What do I got to go? All right, so he's going to be able to use village rites and sacrifice his elk to draw some cards here. So looking for some more card advantage. Again, he's got a lot of recursion available in his deck. So this sort of, hey, let's keep up this kind of value train of make insects, kill insects, make more insects, and I'm going to swarm you to death. I love tribal decks, and I want to probably set up another game with a group of people that are going to do only tribal decks in the future. And here we go. Looks like some recursion happening. He's going to be getting back some of his insects. Oh, going to be getting back more chances to be able to infect people. So now we get to be like, all right, I'm going to put some insects on top, and then I'll activate Grist, and I'll be able to put some insects in my graveyard and make more in there. So he gets to keep that value engine going of making more and more insects, and they just get bigger and bigger because of that Door of Destinies. So his turn is turning out very, very strong and very, very scary to be aware of, and because this keeps making his Crash of the Rhino Beetles. Talk about a heavy hitting insect here. It's trample, and it gets +10/+10 as long as you control 10 or more lands. I think he's at 8 lands right now. And look at that. All right, so it keeps reoccurring. And so he repeats the process, makes more insects. Grist is a really cool card. putrefying. Andy's going to start responding to this. So we can't mess with the Shimmer Dragon because Shimmer Dragon is going to be hexproof. All right, basically trying to clear the way so he can start bringing the pressure again with that Bayou Dragonfly. That Swamp Walk is pretty scary, and he's going to start chipping away at Andy. The thing is, though, like, the food can allow him to gain life, so he could commit resources and start blowing up food if he really wanted to. So it's like it makes math weird as things go, but we're starting to chip away. It's still, you know, early with a lot of players in their life total. We haven't been spending too much life as a resource at this point. Ghostly Flicker. Exile 2 target artifact creatures and or lands you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under your control. So he says, I'll untap this one land, and then I'll essentially, and then I will flicker my elf so I can be able to have him enter the battlefield, make more clues, and I get a forest from my library. That value engine is really just humming away, guys. Or I guess get a land, basic land. Right, so now it's going to be going over to Jen's turn here. She's set up where she doesn't have to worry about flyers, and she's making 5/5s on the ground, so it's a little bit scary to deal with. At least she doesn't have to worry about that Swamp Walk Dragonfly coming her way because it's a flyer. I'm pretty sure it's flyer. Maybe not. Alright, Jen's playing some tap lands that don't enter tapped because she's already met the requirements. She's making sure her mana base is smooth so she doesn't have to worry about waiting extra turns or taking turns off from doing her game plan like kind of I had to do at the beginning with entering someone's stuff. But, ooh, going with the populate strategy. Tristani coming in here. So she can pay 4 mana and be able to tap Tristani and populate, create a copy of target token. And that's pretty cool. An equipment gives the enchanted creature +1/+1 for each artifact and enchantment. She's going to pop the clue that she got from Andy to be able to draw a card. Which again, you know, green and white isn't really known as much for its card draw compared to some of the other colors out there, but you know, there are plenty of enchantments that will help you draw cards. And of course, anytime that Jen plays an enchantment, she will off of her commander, Sythis. So she's going to keep generating more mana here. Let's see what's other payouts. She's been playing a lot of non-enchantments this turn. Ooh, so she's also got some life gain synergy going on in her list as well. Because this is going to get things really scary. So every time she's going to gain life, she's going to be able to put a +1 counter on her creatures. Yeah, lifelink. The beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, then you can be able to distribute that many +1 counters on any number of target creatures. It's scary. I'm pretty sure Jen has used this unicorn as a commander before. So it's cool to see that she's like, hey, this is an awesome card. I've used it as my commander. I know it'll work well in this list because I've got life gain in here off of my commander. I've also got ways to make a bunch of tokens in here. So it's like a nice setup where she can kind of take advantage of all of these kind of strategies that she enjoys playing. So she gained some life this turn. Going to be putting some of those +1 counters onto Sythis just to make sure Sythis can stick around a little bit more. Andy over here, who's got the token machine, just pumping out clues, and end step, he's going to be casting Mystic Tutor to go find something scary. Oh no. Alright, so I love the art style for this. Any of the sketch art is just amazing here. But he says, you know what? I've been doing nothing but making artifacts. So why not turn those artifacts into something I can use with this Rise and Shine? And he could be able to overload it. So normally it would just be target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 0/0 artifact. And you put 4 +1 counters, or you can overload it for 8. Well, he easily has 8 mana, and he's got 10, 17, 19, 20, 21 artifacts that are not creatures. So his tutor last turn basically said, all right, the game has gone on, we've built up all this, now let's kick it into high gear, let's start knocking people out. We've got to play some stuff. I now need a way to win the game, and my way of winning is turning all of my artifacts into creatures. So we're going to pop some, we're going to adjust some of our clues here so you can see 17, 19, 21. Yeah, 21 artifacts that he could be able to do. Now, he doesn't have to choose to turn everything into a creature. All right, because there are things like the signets and stuff like that that he might not care about. He might want those for mana. He can make more artifacts first, though. So if he has a way to be able to generate more creatures to make more clues, then it works out. So let's see, he's tapping out. And now we're going to overload it. So get ready for a bunch of 4/4s. It's like a swarm now. All those clues now have become scary. So all right, so now let's go, he says. Everybody's coming. 21 4/4s. This is one of those, hey, who's got a fog effect? Who's ready to try to play the delay game? Who's got the way to bounce everything? So 84 where's power everybody's ratchet bombs coming across the board. Nobody has 84 life, so it's enough to one-shot somebody. And the person that Andy's been worried about the most at this point is Doni, which is a really tough spot for Doni to be in. He's got a lot of insects. At this point, Doni knows that unless he gets help, he's going to be in trouble, and he's going to be knocked out. And so it's like, all right, let's do that threat assessment. Who's been holding on to stuff that they need to like use maybe to try to save me? And yeah, I got nothing that I can do during someone else's turn. I'm tapped out except for like 2 mana, and all my stuff happens during my turn really. And so now Doni's going to try to do what he can to make a bunch of stuff happen, kind of thing here. All right, you see, it's like basically Doni saying, all right, I'm going to block and throw as many things in the way as I can and try to take out as much as I can to make things easier for you guys. you guys meaning Jen and myself at this point, to try to see if we have a chance to keep it going, because otherwise it's one turn kill took out Doni. He was at 37 life, and just, I mean, he had enough to really take out 2 people there. It's essentially, math is a little weird. 84. I guess he could have. Well, actually, maybe not, because of blockers and stuff like that. It might have been just enough to not. So he's like, I don't want to worry about the math. I'm just taking one person out, kind of thing. Alright, so you can see that Andy is not done with this turn after he took out Doni. He's like, Shrieking Drake comes into play, return a creature, so he can just keep the engine going here. And then it's going to switch over to my turn, and now it's like he just swung in. He has 48 power on board. I have to make something happen here, or I essentially am going to die. So it's like panic mode. How can I make something happen in my turn? So lose some life off breeding pool, so I just get more and more mana available. The more mana, the better. I get double mana off my Zendikar Resurgence, and I get to draw cards when I play a creature, so that helps a little bit, but I basically have to try to maximize my amount of damage and try to just take Andy as low as I can to give Jen a chance. So I'm going to make a copy of Black Lotus, since Garth flickered, and I get to recast stuff again. So I'm going to play Broodclad. So now I get to make more tokens. Broodclad gives all tokens haste, and at the beginning of my combat, I create a 2/1 mirror creature token, and then I can select my tokens and have them become copies of another token. So I can make a bunch of Black Lotus, or I could make a bunch of Shivan Dragons. Derevi is going to come out and allow me to untap. So I'm basically just maximize and as much as I can in this one turn. I have 2 mana floating with the Helm of the Host now, so I can just... So now it's like, all right, what am I making copies of? Broodclad seems pretty good to make more tokens. I could also do Garth, so I can make more stuff, or I could do more Derevi. Like, we'll do Broodclad. More mirrors. That's what we need. More tokens. Alright, so moving to combat, I'm going to make a copy of Broodclad and make 2 more mirrors, and then everything's going to be a copy of Shivan Dragon. That means my Black Lotuses become Shivan Dragons. Now I got a bunch of Shivan Dragons. And I played 2 creatures, so I get to draw 2 cards so I don't forget my triggers. So I'm like kind of going through the motions of doing all this stuff. But now I've got 2, 4, 6 red mana available to try to burn somebody. So I can't attack Jen here. So and clearly 48 powers is the scary part. So I have to basically just go all in on Andy. And 5 Shivan Dragons swinging in. So 25 power coming at you with fire breathing for 6 would be a total of 31 that I can do in one turn. So imagine if someone didn't have flyers. That would just be another kind of quick OTK. But Andy's got 1, 2, 3 3 blockers that he can do. So he can block 3, 2 will get through. And then I can fire breathe and deal a bunch of damage. A bunch of damage. I mean, I basically get to make it so 3 are unblocked essentially. So 16 damage. So yeah, 16 total damage is able to go through. And he's going to tap his Shimmering Dragon, or using his Shimmering Dragon to tap his artifacts so he could draw a bunch of cards. All right, now we're going over to Jen's turn. So now I was able to drop Andy down to 11. So now it's like, all right, we need trample. We need to be able to get in there and push through all those 4/4 and basically try to maximize damage. I guess I should have attacked again with my 12/12. I forgot all about my 12/12. That should have been pushing in. I mean, it probably would have made a difference. He would have thrown something else, one of his other creatures like that elf there, but maybe it would have made it a little bit easier for this turn for Jen. But she's again going for that enchantress route. You see she just threw that down, so she's going to be able to draw 2 cards for every enchantment that she plays. She's already starting to gain life, so she's keeping track of it because she played an enchantment, 1 life. Of course, that unicorn is going to make a big difference in kind of helping her to go wide or kind of buff up a lot of creatures here. I like the land choice, the Heliod Sanctum or whatever that returns an enchantment. That's pretty good. Jen's board it's developed nicely, but it's how are we going to deal with all these artifacts? That's the scary part. So it looks like we're going to get some population happening from Jen. She's going to make some more worms, which is nice with Tristani. And again, hey, when another creature enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. So she's going to keep gaining more life, more +1 counters going on things. So she's got a good setup with her board here. Like she's got a good amount of blockers. I mean, she's making more blockers, but she's got to start being able to push in more. Like I don't see much evasion happening with her board right now. There's no flying at this moment. There's no forest walk. There's no, unblockable. We got not much. So that elf blocked it immediately. That's one of those things like, man, if I had thought about bringing that 12/12, Andy would have had less blockers, and things would have been a little bit easier maybe. So I can keep trying to push in for more damage, but now now I'm the scary one, right? I've got all the dragons that can fly over top of Andy's board, and he's got all of these March of the Machines going on here, all these 4/4s, right? And so he doesn't have to worry as much about Jen because he could just leave some blockers back now, and now he can just start pushing in and try to finish me off. I do have a bunch of blockers as well, so it makes his math a little bit harder, and I can start getting rid of some of the stuff, but it's not enough to block everything. All right, so he could just sit here and math it out, assuming he has nothing else. But he's got a grip full at this point in time, so we can see what else he can kind of bring to the table to finish things off. Oh, okay. So now we're just going to kick everything up to 11 here. So the Fractal Bloom, if you guys are familiar with the new commander stuff we talked about before. So first time you would create 1 or more tokens. Each of your turns you may make a choice of a creature other than this, and that token becomes a copy of it. So it's like, all right, well, I'm going to make a copy of Brutaclad then. And then he can make everything become copies of Brutaclad, which is not good. This is not what we wanted. So he was like, this is like the Magic Christmas Land stuff. It's like, why would I not do that? at this point. So now he's kind of going through and making his tokens into a bunch of mirrors. All right, so Brutaclad is legendary, so he doesn't want to make a bunch of copies of Brutaclad, so he says everything is going to become a copy of a 2/1 mirror. So now they become 6 5s instead of just 4 4s. So it's like, again, that the stars have aligned. You don't normally get to play Brutaclad in a Simic list, so why would you not make copies of Brutaclad and then make all of your artifacts even stronger? So he says, okay, here's how we're going. 20, maybe not. 16, 6 6s or 6 5s coming at you, and then I'm leaving 10 back to block. So let's try to wrap it up, finish it up, and try to take Nan out here. All right, so there's no way that I can win this fight. So I basically decide, all right, I'm going to block as much of my stuff as I can to trade off, double blocking here and there, block, and try to take out 6 of them. So I end up blocking 6, and I take 60 points to the face, and I die. But I at least kill 6 to give Jen maybe a fighting chance going into it. She's got to get through 10 6 5s, and then of course the Fractal Bloom's a 4/4 flyer, and yeah, it's there's still Oko, I guess, on the field. Oh man, this Simic stuff is really good. So yeah, March of the Machines essentially here is what I like. It's, that rise and shine, make your stuff into a giant army of artifacts. This is pretty awesome. All right, Jen's turn. She's going to untap and try to see a way to kind of push things over the edge here. There's 10 blockers she has to worry about, so if she's got a way to give all of her stuff trample, Triumph of the Hordes, something like that, Overwhelming Stampede, some way to just kind of overwhelm Andy here and push for that last little bit. I mean, Jen's at 50 life, so she's been gaining a bunch of life every turn. She can still continue to gain a bunch of life here this turn, but Andy's only down to like 11 or something like that, maybe 9. So it's very close. She has a chance here, depending on what's in her hand, what she can draw off of Sythis and her Enchantress over there. So it's gonna be tough. Starting things out, she's gonna populate, make another worm. That means she's going to be gaining more life, which means she's going to get more +1 counters on her stuff. So you see she's already setting stuff up, so she's going to be like, all right, these things synergize really well together. I'm just going to keep this kind of train going. All right, so now Jen's going to start swinging in for combat. She's going to start pushing with the worms. She's going to start pushing with the ape and just try to get through some of the blockers. Problem is, like, there's 10 6/5 still there. So she's going to chip away at them at this point, but the engine for creating too many tokens is already going here. All right, so Andy's dropped down 6 life. Sadly, the sandworms are not trampling worms, but you feel like they should be, right? But they're not. And so now it's like, all right, I've got all of these things. You're at 55. I got to make sure I math this out right so I don't miscount, and I'm going to be kind of work through all this so I can be able to just swing in and take you out here. All right, going through, it's just like, all right, what, how do I kill you without like making sure I die, kind of thing. I don't know if you got a fog or something crazy like that, and so he's gonna be like, all right, I'm bringing a team essentially. Here's 17 mirrors coming at you, but Jen has a response to this. Jen has Teferi's protection. So she just phases out. And so now it's on Andy to scramble and try to assemble enough blockers here. You know, can Jen be able to generate enough to swing in and kill him here? So this Teferi's protection is huge, and now it's this, okay, how can Andy go from this position where he was about to kill Jen to now have to build a bunch of walls up around him to protect himself from Jen's swing back? Oh, the assembly worker is one of the ways to do that. Yeah, that's a... Yep, if you would create a clue, food, or treasure instead, you would be creating each one of those at this point. And because he's got the fractal bloom, he could make a bunch of copies of something else here. Like, he just goes, all right, what am I going to pick? And then I'm just going to get a bunch of those. What's not legendary? And now I can just sort of make a bunch of them here. All right, so this is how it works now. He just went, okay, I need something to get in the way and be my blockers. Well, how about I make 3 blockers a turn, essentially, because, well, double that, they become 6, because he still has his Strixhaven commander over there that doubles the tokens that he's generating. So he goes, all right, I need 6 Academy manufacturers. So then next turn he'll just keep getting more and more and more and more. Oh, it's scary. His swarm of token creatures that he can be able to produce is amazing. Like the way that he built his deck to strategize and synergize and connect all these dots amongst all these tokens, and then had his win condition of turn all of his tokens into creatures, makes a lot of sense here. So now we're going to Jen's potentially last turn. This is her chance. She either wins on this turn or loses when it goes back to Andy. So it's all in on this turn to see if she has a way, Triumph of the Hordes, something in there to help her. We talked about Overwhelming Stampede as a potential. I don't know if she's running it in her list, but just ways to kind of boost everybody up. Crater Hoof Behemoth, right? You've got a decent number of creatures, making everybody a little bit tramply, kind of makes things a little bit hard for blocking. And I mean, Andy is low health, so she just needs that little bit to get through to be able to seal the deal here. Port State's a little bit scary here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 creatures that Andy has to block with. So she needs to be able to have at least 10 creatures to be able to attack, and then be able to sneak in 6 damage after that. Or have a way to kill off some of Andy's creatures or something. But looks like she's not able to. Just kind of passes back to Andy, and he turns everything sideways. Let's see if Jen has anything else to protect herself. A fog, something. But nope. Good game is called. And Andy ends up taking it. What a great game. Like Simic was super powerful this time. I was so close there on my turn. I was like a turn off. You saw I'd spent a lot of this game developing and building up. Andy just like accelerated much quicker. My ramp to help everybody else definitely helped Andy in that regard, be able to start popping off a little bit quicker. I really enjoyed seeing Donnie's deck start to get assembled. He became a little bit scary when he started throwing out Infect and Swamp Walk, and so he was also one of those, I'm a turn or two away from really getting the engine going. Jen seemed like she was getting a lot of that life gain and token synergy going near the end, so it was a really, really great balanced game, I feel like, between all the decks, and it's going to be interesting to see, like, if these decks ever played against each other again, how things are going to work out now that we know how scary Andy's deck can be. But post up one more time so you can see where Andy Doni, and Jen can be found online. But thanks for tuning in and watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next game.
Hey everyone, my name is Andy Flory. I am one half of the Guardian Project podcast. We are a weekly podcast that talks about all things Magic the Gathering, but mostly Commander. We release new episodes every week, and you can find those on our website at guardianprojectpodcast.com or anywhere where podcasts are found. You can find us on Twitter at GuardianPod, and we occasionally stream Paper Commander at twitch.tv/atflory, and then all of our videos are posted to our YouTube website, youtube.com/theguardianproject. And for this game, I'm going to be playing Lonis, Cryptozoologist. Lonis is a 1/2 Snake Elf Scout for a green and a blue that says whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you investigate, and you can tap it and sack X clues. To have target opponent reveal the top X cards of their library, you may put a non-land permanent with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield under your control, and then that player puts the rest of those cards on the bottom of their library in a random order. The goal of this deck is to make enough clues so that I can play your decks, but if all else fails, I can turn all of my clues into creatures and swing for the win.
Hey everybody, it's Doni, aka Cardboard Pimpin' on Instagram, or you can also find me on Twitter, Doni_Filthy MTG Casuals. Today I'm playing Grist. Basically, it's just insect tribal, using some self-mill and some recursion, and just trying to do the thing. Wish me luck.
Hi everyone, my name is Jen. I am the better half of the Filthy MTG Casuals. You can also find me under MTG Card Crazy on Instagram and Filthy MTG Casual on Twitter. Today I will be playing Sythis, new and improved Enchantress decks, because now we have card draw and life gain in the command zone. So my deck just wants to play enchantments, get value, gain life, and take over.
Hey everyone, NanMan here. I'm a StarCraft 2 and Magic the Gathering content maker and commentator. Thanks for tuning in and watching, guys. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and check the description for more information about other content that I'm doing. I've also got a new podcast, NanMan's Nerd Corner, which you guys can find out on Spotify or iTunes. It's got a bunch of Magic content as well as other stuff. Thanks for tuning in and watching, and I'll see you guys next game.